What's up? What's up, everybody? This is Alvin Louie from Courage is a Habit. How are you guys? It's Wednesday, right? What a busy week this has been for us already. We had a wonderful release, a new tool right off the bat earlier this week. But tonight, I want to cover what happened this morning with the hearing, a committee here, U.S. Senate hearing or a House hearing on the Southern Poverty Law Center, manufacturing hate. Oh man, that'll never not be funny to me. The people that screamed about white supremacy realize there's so little white supremacy and racism that they had to fund it. That will never not be funny to me. That is so hilarious. So it went on forever today. God bless those people that stayed there for that long. But I want to just cover a few segments just to kind of catch you all up, give you guys a curated look at what happened at the hearing today. So share this live stream, and we're gonna, as always, bring you the stuff that you need to know, so that you don't have to sit through all the insanity. So I think I'm doing all right on the audio. Cool. All right. So for those of you who are hopping in that may be just following us, my name is Alvin Louie. I am with Courage is a Habit. Our organization creates beautiful tools and strategies, tactics for parents to understand how to protect their kids in government K through 12. And one of the best ways to support us is to buy something from our store. We have these really comfortable, ultra soft t-shirts, hats, and sweatshirts. And so it is courageishabit.org/store. And that supports our mission and allows us to be able to travel and bring our tools to parents. So share this live stream. Please share this live stream because, like I said, I'm going to cover some of the points here in the hearing. Shout out to all the people who've worked very hard in finally exposing, in my opinion, probably one of the top 3-4 most corrupt organizations this nation has ever seen, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Fun fact, Courage is a Habit was also deemed a hate group back in 2023. And we were put on the hate map for the first time in June or July. What was interesting is at the time we were a year and 3 months old. At the time we were a year and 3 months old. So to my knowledge, I think we are still the youngest organization that they ever deemed a hate group. And our great crime in their eyes at the time that got us the privilege of being put on the hate map is that we thought there was no such thing as a trans child and that parents shouldn't be kept in the dark, that schools should not be brainwashing kids and keeping transgender secrets from parents. We also hit we hit everything that goes on in K through 12. So it's not like that's the only thing that we hit. Of course, we hit all kinds of indoctrination, anything related to education, indoctrination, we hit it. But for the purposes of the hate map, that was what they put us on there for. So you can see that they are a hugely corrupt organization. And what was interesting about the SPHC is if you haven't gotten the book, Making Hate Pay from my friend Tyler O'Neill, I really encourage everyone to go get that book because it really is an eye-opening to how the Southern Poverty Law Center started, especially the founder, and how little he cared about civil rights. And so that was a big shocker for me. His name is Morris. And it was so to see his whole point is whatever is good for fundraising. That's where he was going to go. And so just a quick back history while everybody's coming in just to share this. So for those of you who may not know, the Southern Poverty Law Center originally made its name trying to go after the KKK. And they had something called the Klan Watch. And so they would fundraise and say, we're this tiny little organization, this little law firm, and we're fighting the big bad Ku Klux Klan, right? And so they raise money, small donors and then big donors. And so much to Morris's dismay, through not just for them, but just through culture and civil rights and just, things changing, the KKK, people started going against them just as a culture. The white supremacy is bad, KKK is bad. And so that's where it moved to the country. And so when that happened, Morris, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, they built this gigantic law firm as this David going after the Goliath. So they had this clan watch. But after a while, the KKK was so weak. They were such a nothing burger. They had very little money left. They were losing all the lawsuits. Morris was like, damn it. How am I going to raise money now? We actually got to the point where the KKK is like nothing. They don't have any power, any political power or cultural power. So he goes, damn it. Okay, I can't do a clan watch because that map is going to be empty. So he switched it to a hate map. So he goes, I know, I'll expand it to hate. And then the first thing he did was he said, oh, if you're against abortion, you're hateful. And if you're a Christian, you're hateful, that kind of thing. And so over the years, they had to keep expanding this as they grew to this behemoth of an organization. And so eventually they started putting parents. In 2022, they started putting parents on their hate map, saying that if you're against pornography in schools, if you're against teaching, your white kids are oppressive, critical race theory, if you don't believe America is oppressive, basically anything you don't believe that's left wing, you're hateful. You're put on the hate map, and that's where people they start teaching kids, that the words are violence. And so in the 90s, okay, as they were expanding the hate map, the Southern Poverty Law Center created a education arm called Teaching Tolerance. And Teaching Tolerance was in education, but it was not systemically in education, meaning that it provided curriculum, it provided training, but as a school, you really had to have a real left-wing nut to go and get to use that. You have to actively go use it. And that was Teaching Tolerance. But as they grew, and as, of course, all the different departments of education heads at the federal level and the state level, they really started absorbing and using the Teaching Tolerance. But in 2020, they said, you know what? This is not good enough. It's not good enough to just be tolerant. We need to be more active, because by that time they were so big, they were so much in education already. They said we needed to rebrand ourselves to what is today called Learning for Justice. So they needed to be, it has to be justice. It has to be active now, because they've already established it's not, if you're not racist, that's not good enough. You have to be actively marching and throwing Molotov cocktails and demanding reparations and brainwashing all these kids. And so today, the Southern Poverty Law Center is baked into your mental health. So we at Courage is a Habit last October, we unveiled that the American School Counselor Association, which governs mental health in all 50 states, copies. And when I say copy, let me just be clear. Okay. Let me just be clear. When I say copy, I don't mean inspired by. I mean, they literally copied the student standards from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Like, they didn't even change it a little bit. They just literally just copied it. And so today, it's not like the 90s when it first started. If the Southern Poverty Law Center goes out of business tomorrow, and we hope they do, we hope that so many of these people spend time in prison. We hope that they go completely bankrupt. But even if that happens, it doesn't change anything in the schools one iota, because it's already baked into your social emotional learning. It's baked into your mental health programs. And so you have to root it out from there, because all the teachers and all the school counselors are already trained under that Southern Poverty Law Center. White people bad, slavery still exists, white supremacy is biggest problem that we ever have, all those kind of things. And so they're trained under that ideology. That's endless victimhood. It's white people bad, give us money, give us reparations. And so because all the teachers and school counselors are trained under that value system, even if the Southern Poverty Law Center disappears tomorrow, it won't make a difference in your school. So you have to go after the social emotional learning and the mental health, obviously, the teacher colleges being completely stripped down to the studs and rebuilt would be necessary, because the teacher colleges and pumps out these counselors and teachers. You have to, we going after the American School Counselor Association, making sure that they are no longer the standards being used in your schools, which is all 50 states. Those things will help get rid of it. But the Southern Poverty Law Center as an organization needs to be completely bankrupt and completely just flattened. And that would be great for America, but it won't change anything in your K through 12. So anyway, that's a little bit of a few minutes of a history of the Southern Poverty Law Center, kind of, how they grew to be who they are and then how they got into our schools. So share this live stream of Courage After Dark and let's hit it. Let's see. Oh, comments. Thank you, Patty from YouTube. I love your work. Keep it coming. I would share your work like crazy, but I'm shadowed, banned everywhere. Was it something I said? I don't know, Patty. I think a lot of people are shadow banned everywhere. Well, Patty, if it's something that you said, it's probably something common sense, like there's, a child can't be born in the wrong body or something like that. It's probably going to be something along those lines is what you said. All right. Let me just check the okay, perfect. Okay. So let me start. Let's start with the testimony, one of the opening testimonies of my my friend who is the author of Making Hate Pay, Tyler O'Neill. So let me make sure I got the audio here. Let's do it.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins, for that testimony. Leo, the hero, thank you for your courage. We'll now go to Mr. O'Neill.
Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Raskin, members of the committee, I'm honored to testify before you today. I will argue that the Southern Poverty Law Center does not merely track hate, it systematically inflates it, profits from it, and, according to a federal indictment, may even have helped create it. The first thing to know about the SPLC is that it has nothing to do with poverty. The Poverty Palace has an endowment, has assets of $822 million. That's more than 3 times the assets of the National YMCA and almost twice the sum of Planned Parenthood. That's why former employees have suggested mocking mottos for the SPLC, such as making hate pay. How did the SPLC become so wealthy? Co-founder Morris Dees set up a lucrative fundraising engine by suing the Ku Klux Klan into bankruptcy. When the SPLC ran out of grand dragons to slay, the center needed to find more hate to justify the fundraising. It has a financial incentive to juice the numbers. The SPLC began to publish a hate map that plots mainstream conservative and Christian groups alongside Klan chapters. The map includes Moms for Liberty, PragerU, Turning Point USA, and even Focus on the Family. The SPLC says the map reveals the infrastructure upholding white supremacy. This hate map kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It silences conservative dissent from the left's and the SPLC's agenda, and it exaggerates hate to keep the money flowing. The map also includes groups that barely exist, like a Confederate memorabilia shop and a convent. In 2023, I analyzed the map and found that it exaggerated hate by at least 267%, by including mainstream conservatives, double counting groups, and mentioning defunct organizations. Given this track record, is it really so far-fetched to think the SPLC might be propping up some of the very white supremacist groups it claims it exists to oppose? A federal grand jury indicted the SPLC on fraud charges because it had funneled $3 million to members of the Klan. The SPLC didn't deny the payments, but said it was funding informants who had tipped the center off to violent threats before they happened. But that's not what allegedly happened in Charlottesville in 2017. According to the indictment, the SPLC paid an organizer and directed this person's racist postings. The indictment suggests the SPLC's involvement made Charlottesville larger than it otherwise would have been. After Charlottesville, the SPLC's annual fundraising doubled. Social media companies volunteered to start silencing hate groups. CNN plastered the hate map on its website. Charlottesville was a payday for the SPLC. And this so-called informant may have been the SPLC's most cunning investment. Of course, if it became known that the SPLC had paid a Charlottesville organizer, that would be a massive scandal. No wonder the SPLC allegedly lied to a bank, setting up shell companies to fund these informants. Why does this matter? SPLC staff have briefed DOJ prosecutors. Big tech companies have used the SPLC to blacklist conservative nonprofits. School districts across the country have adopted the SPLC's curriculum. Hundreds of companies systematically exclude conservatives from their charity programs because of the SPLC. The SPLC also have offshoots that engage in similar efforts against conservatives. The Change the Terms Coalition banded together to pressure big tech to deplatform conservatives, and former SPLC staff have founded the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism. If an organization can inflate threats, influence federal policy, and conceal its role in allegedly fueling the very extremism it condemns, then Congress has a duty to investigate it and its offshoots.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Ms. Wiley, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Navan, the #1 rated business travel platform, lets your team book work travel in one place. Flights, hotels, cars, while staying within budget and earning.
All right, so this woman, before I play her her testimony, I want you to know who she is, okay? So she is, of course, somebody who fully supports critical race theory. Maya Wiley. She's complaining about the assault on critical race theory and how critical race theory teaches about poverty across people and, you know, all the usual stuff. Now, I will give you a quick rule of thumb. You'll know anytime a Democrat or a left-wing or anybody woke or anybody on that side, you'll know when they cannot defend their position or attack yours. Okay? When they can't defend their position or attack yours, there are two things that they will do that will let you know that they're in trouble. They will talk about white supremacy, they'll talk about slavery and racism. Those are the three things. Anytime you hear, and this is a hearing, so you would expect that these people would have came prepared, people like Ghetto Crockett, Jamie Crockett, but it takes them no time to get there because everything that Tyler just said, everything you heard Tyler say, they cannot defend. They can't say what Mr. O'Neill said here, here, and here is not true, and here's the reason why. So they have to wave their finger and snap their hands, and you know they have to do the whole it's white supremacy, slavery. So you'll see how quickly this lady gets here. Miss Critical Race Theory right here.
Thank you, Chairman Jordan and Ranking Member Raskin, and to the entire committee for having me here today. I'd like to get right to the point. The attack on SPLC is nothing more than part of a larger, broader, coordinated attack on civil rights organizations, not-for-profits, ones that work to ensure voters can vote, that children can learn, and people can live without fear. Multiracial.
You see how quickly she went to emotional blackmail? She spoke for maybe like, this is her, like she said, welcome and thank you. So she did that. So that doesn't count. She's 5 seconds into her speech. People can vote, children can be educated, and people can live without fear. That's her leading emotional blackmail. Who can't vote? Who can't vote? Everybody can vote. What she's saying is that, oh, having ID is not good. Black people can't get ID, which is, of course, stupid. Of course, they can get ID. Where the SPLC is, remember, they're very left-wing, so they want to be sure that the cheating can continue because they don't want illegal. They want illegals to vote. So of course, everybody can vote. So who can't vote? Educate the children. Have you seen the test scores? Have you seen children marching to protect violent illegal aliens? If you follow Courage is a Habit, you know what education means. Educate our children mean more Southern Poverty Law Center brainwashing, and then people living in fear. Who's living in fear? If you're a criminal, you should live in fear. Actually, you know what? I would actually argue that not enough people live in fear. Have you seen the revolving door for criminals? Have you seen these woke white women judges and these black women judges just letting criminals not once or twice, but 20, 30, 40 times? So who's living in fear? In fact, I argue we should have more fear. You got illegal aliens demanding free stuff. Who's living in fear? We actually need more fear. That's been the problem. Nobody fears our laws. Nobody fears our capital punishments because we have none. Nobody fears our borders, our deportation. So you see how this is how they talk. You see that? This is right off the bat. And so you have to understand that. You see the way Tyler talks about it. He's giving you specific examples that they can't refute. He's literally giving you examples throughout different organizations and different people. And she comes with the emotional blackmail. That's all the left has is emotional blackmail. And so that's how quickly she got this. She spent the first 7 seconds thanking everybody, and within 10 seconds, she's telling 3 emotional blackmail lies that doesn't mean anything.
Democracy is something Americans value, but as the administration has gutted civil rights enforcement and the Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act, it is in danger. Civil rights organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center are fighting to protect all of our rights. It has done so for more than 5 decades. It helped bankrupt the violent white supremacist organizations, including the United Klans of America. It has brought major voting rights cases, including to secure fair representation for Black voters in Alabama. And it educates the public on threats from extremist movements before those threats turn to violence. Sadly, this work is critical. A San Diego mosque and the families of 3 brave fathers are mourning the apparently hate-motivated killings from just Monday. No one should fear violence in a place of worship or anywhere else.
Unless you're a Christian
SPLC
church.
has been targeted by extremists and their supporters for years, not because it is dangerous, but because it is effective. Today, it is SPLC. But in a sense, we are all SPLC. I won't spend much time picking apart the preposterous criminal charges because I have complete confidence in SPLC's ability to do so in court. But all Americans, no matter our party or beliefs, should not sleep on this hearing and what is happening. Because Monday's murders at a mosque appears to be from 2 young people apparently espousing neo-Nazi and white supremacist hate, and they took up arms. We need to discuss hate ideologies and the groups that spread them to understand how we can prevent the kind of violence that happened on Monday. Trying to distort SPLC's use of informants into some claim that engaged in manufacturing hate is not only nonsensical, it's an effort to deny that hate exists. Prosecution should never be tolerated as a weapon to silence disagreement or stop lawful activities that this administration dislikes. In the past year, we've seen countless examples of weaponization against law firms, universities, media companies, advocates of basic rights branded as domestic terrorists, important nonprofits that had their grants cut off, protesters who faced violence. The use of criminal prosecutions is consistent with this pattern.
You know what's funny? Everything she just said in the last like 20 seconds is exactly what the SPLC did. The protester were the riots, the violent ones. They debanked and defunded any organization that doesn't go with the left-wing narrative. The Gays Against Groomers have been kicked off every single banking system that you can think of. They couldn't even sell their merch. They got kicked off of Shopify and Printify and all those different popular merch stores because the Gays Against Groomers were against the transing of children in hospitals and all the secrets in schools and things. So it's funny because she actually, everything she just said is as usual, is this projection is everything they did to conservatives over the last, for their whole existence, pretty much since they turned from the Klan watch to the hate map.
And our concern is that no organization seen as dissenting from any administration's policy, large or small, should ultimately face this kind of abuse of power. We are also concerned that some private financial companies, namely Schwab, Fidelity, and Vanguard, have joined in the administration's efforts to cut off funds that donors have asked be sent to Southern Poverty Law Center. In this case, it doesn't appear that conviction is the goal. Starving the SPLC of resources, tarnishing its reputation, and ultimately bullying it into compliance is more likely the point. Luckily, SPLC and civil rights organizations will not be intimidated. SPLC is continuing to fight against hate and to stand up for people's rights. It just sued the Goyim Defense League for anti-Semitic and racist harassment of Jewish and Black residents in Nashville. It has sued to ensure that voters in Cobb County, Georgia are getting their absentee ballots on time. And it continues to educate us about the growth of hate and extremism in this country, which even federal data has shown has doubled since 2015. It is real.
So what she said, that even federal data shows that hate crime speech has doubled since 2015 is because they expanded, just like the SPLC expanded from the Klan watch to the hate map. They've now expanded what hate actually means. Okay, that's what she means. So now if you think that the border should be opened or the border should be closed, you shouldn't have an open border. If you don't believe that your skin color makes a difference in if you're successful or not, if you don't think a child can be born in the wrong body, if you don't believe that there should be that the children shouldn't be able to consent to sex, that there should be boundaries, that parental rights determine when children do all kinds of things. All that is hate to them. You understand? All that is hate to them. That's what it is. And so we have a if you go to courageisahabit.org under collections and decoder, we have a what is hate speech. We built this we built this back in 2023. Actually, we built this back in 2023, and we gave you a list of all the different things that are considered hate speech. So if you say a man can't get pregnant, no such thing as a trans child, I'm proud to be a white American. Climate changeism is a hoax. I don't support reparations. America is not systemically racist. There are only two sexes. You cannot change your sex or gender. Saying any of those things is considered hate. So naturally, of course, all the hate's doubled since 2015, because starting around 2015, that's when a lot of these things started getting added on and on and on. And of course, by 2020, it really took off. So you have to understand that when these people talk, they are extremely dishonest, for one thing. And they, like we say here at Courage is a Habit, they use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. Meaning that her definition of hate and your definition of hate are two very, very different things. And so unless you understand how dishonest they are when they talk, all this word salad is going to sound like, okay, maybe maybe there is more hate. Maybe I don't know. No, there is no hate at all. This is the problem. We don't hate enough, right? We don't hate child abusers. We don't hate people mutilating kids. We don't hate illegal aliens coming in and killing Americans. We are too tolerant and too nice and too kind. We have too much empathy. And so they keep, as we say in one of our graphics, is that they take advantage of your kindness all the while telling you how unkind you are. And that's exactly what this critical race theory DEI hire is doing. She is taking advantage of your kindness all the while telling you how unkind you are.
The SPLC is far too busy fighting hate to manufacture it. You don't have to like or agree with all of its strategies. I wouldn't ask that. But the fact that SPLC is being criminally charged for its work only shows how much work it has to do. Thank you.
So one of the big charges against them, that's proven, because that's not something that they can hide from. They're just trying to say, oh, he was an informant. So there is there's like 5 KKK members left, right? Like actual neo-Nazis. And so they put this one guy on their hate map and they said, this guy is like your number one KKK neo-Nazi white supremacist. I forgot his name. So this guy's, plastered on the Southern Poverty Law Center website. Then it's come to find out, the DOJ found out that they were paying this guy. Let me just say that again. During the day, they're like, hey, this guy's a neo-Nazi. And then behind the scenes, they're giving him money to manufacture more hate. Let me put it a way that you'll understand. So courage is a habit, right? We fight all the indoctrination in schools, all the pornography in schools, the transgender secrets, critical race theory, all the restorative justice, school counselors and things like that. Okay. So during the day, imagine, okay, if courage is a habit, it's going, hey, here are all the pornographic books that they're giving your kids. We got to get rid of these books. We got to get rid of the bills that are allowing it. And at night, we're actually donating to a publisher to produce more of these books. And then we're paying these books to be put into schools. Like, we're donating these books. We're buying these books and put them into schools at night. And then during the day, we come out and say, look at all the pornography that's in schools. That is exactly what the Southern Poverty Law Center did. That's exactly what they did. It would be as if the DOJ went, hey, courage is a habit. We found out that they donated hundreds and thousands of dollars, millions of dollars to get these pornographic books like Genderqueer and this boy is gay or whatever it is. And Boys Love Blue and all this kind of shit, all that kind of queer smut. They were like, hey, we found out that they were buying these books and putting it in schools. And then during the day, they're like, how dare these schools have these books? Imagine. Think about that. If any, this is, you know what, you do have to admit, though, it's pretty genius. It actually is pretty smart. I don't know of any other organization. The only other organization that may do this is maybe the ADL. I wouldn't be surprised at some point that comes out about the ADL. But man, that is pretty damn smart. That is pretty fucking amazing. So, like if you're a plumber, okay, if you're a plumber, you should pay some people at night to go to different homes and start smashing pipes. Right. And then during the day, they'll be like, oh, my pipes are broken. Can you come in? And you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. I don't even know how this happened. Yes, I'll be out right away. You're creating your own business. I mean, if it did not devastate this country, if like President Biden, a lot of what he passed was based on the SPLC, all the hate map and hate groups and shit. And of course, he knows what's going on. He's working with them, but at the time, it's pretty devious, pretty devious. All right. Let's hear from another Democrat lunatic. This one's only a few 53 seconds here. Let's see here.
To intimidate, we're witnessing an intentional effort to intimidate any institution who will stand up for our rights, the rights of Americans. It's an intentional effort to silence Black voices and to undo our multiracial democracy. And the majority claims that the SPLC manufactures hate. Here's the hard truth. There is no reason that the SPLC has to manufacture hate in this country because the Trump era has supplied plenty of it. White supremacy, Christian nationalism, violence against women, right-wing extremism, and bigotry against the LGBTQ community is flourishing. And the president just set up a corrupt slush fund to pay people who took up arms against our own government. Right now, hate is being cultivated, rewarded, and reinforced by those in power. We're witnessing.
But you see what I mean, though? If you don't want your children mutilated, you don't believe that they should be playing in your daughter's sports and then watching her shower afterwards, that's hate. Do you guys understand how powerful language is? Everything she read off, she considers that hate. Silencing Black voices, meaning that you need to show ID to vote. Christian nationalism means that you're a Christian, that you believe that we should be a Christian nation. So to them, when they say these things, you have to listen to it through their lens. Attack on LGBTQ people. What do it mean by attack? Not use their pronouns. That's what she means. If you don't call a freak of a mentally ill man in a dress a her, that's hate. You see what I mean? And this is why Courage is a Habit. We pound so hard every day, multiple times a day, 7 days a week, about language, about teaching you to reject the inclusive language and have the courage to say, I embrace exclusion. I embrace exclusion. There's no such thing as a trans child. Racism isn't a thing. White supremacy isn't a thing. If you can't succeed in this country, it's because you're a loser. That's it. Because we haven't reached yet where we have the courage, I mean, across the board, not just like a small segment of Americans. And people say that behind closed doors, but you have to be able to say that in public. Because so long as that you're still thinking, well, there was slavery, so long as you feel that way, these people will continue to tear this country apart brick by brick. So this is why we pound so hard on language. We pound so hard on not apologizing for anything. There's nothing to apologize for. These people are very dishonest, and they want you, especially if you're a white, they want you to be destitute. They want you to leave nothing for your children. They want you to have no generational wealth, because that's white supremacy. So this is why language is so important, because without language, they don't have any power. Because if you understand what they're saying, like right now, I'm explaining to you what they mean. But if you don't, in your mind, if you don't listen to them and go, oh, that's what they mean, then it's going to be very difficult to put these people out of business. Yes, that is their entire defense. That's their entire defense. We were just paying informants. No, you weren't. You were literally paying KKK members. They weren't your informants. So, like I said, it would be like if we started donating to all the publishers that produces these queer smut books about transgenderism and LGBTQ and stuff. And we're like, oh no, we were just paying informants. What do you mean? We're not paying informants. We're not paying moles. We weren't paying like a parent to go in and and give us access to the, kids' Chromebook or something. We're actually paying, they're actually paying KKK members. Oh man. Like I said, it'll never not be funny to me. That's as funny as shit. All right, let's hear some of the questioning of this Miss Critical Race Theory here. Let's listen in on this questioning. And these people, the way they answer questions is so hilarious. They're dumb as shit. They're so dishonest. And the way they answer questions is so funny.
What is so concerning to us as a civil rights community is that the Southern Poverty Law Center has been attacked because it does work to ensure that Black voters can vote, because it does work to show and ensure that fair maps are drawn for places like Alabama and Louisiana, where yes, because we still have racial segregation in this country, Black people have to be packed or cracked to take away the opportunity for them to decide who can represent them that will actually be accountable to them. These are incredibly important for civil rights, but it's also incredibly important for people's ability to have voice and power, including to dissent and disagree with the policies of this administration.
I played the wrong video. There was another video where she was getting questioned. But, you know, you see, as again, it's the same thing about Black people this, Black people that. They're so, oh, woe is me, they can't vote. Woe is me, they're everything sucks for them. So here's a good example. Here's a good example of how these dishonest people destroy their own community and then use it to weaponize your kindness. Okay. And I'm going to give you this example. And this example is across all towns and suburbs and cities in all 50 states. Okay. You will be able to recognize it. So what they do is that they lower the punishment for crimes in your city. These BLM, people like her, these critical race theory people exactly like her, starts beating on your mayor and your city council members to say that your city is racist because they pull over Black people more than anyone else. They pull over Black people more than Asian people, more than white people, more than whatever, Indian people. They're getting arrested for this and this and that. It's because Black people commit more crimes per capita, like not even close. But they keep pounding, and then again, back to the weaponizing kindness. People start your city council and mayor. If you don't have a strong backbone, you start lowering the crimes. You start lowering the punishment for the crimes. And so eventually, in some of these cities, the punishment for these crimes are so low that there's literally no incentive to not rob a Target, a Walgreens, a Sephora, whatever. And so what happens is eventually in a lot of these cities, the crime gets so bad because they keep saying we get to lower the punishment because it disproportionately affects Black people. You can even see it in your suburbs. I don't care if you live in a red suburbs. I promise you those words are being thrown around and your city council is being pressured to, well, maybe we got to, train our police differently. And we got to look at these laws. Are they disproportionately affected Black people? No, it's because Black people disproportionately commit crimes. And we got to go back to saying that. And so what happens is the Walgreens and the Targets and all these different places, especially these big department stores, they eventually pack up and they leave because corporate headquarters go, it's not worth it for us to keep these stores open in these predominantly Black places, these predominantly Black cities, because their critical race theory and their restorative justice and these people exactly like her are always screaming to not punish Black criminals. So what happens is when a Walgreens get closed, these same Black activists will come out and say capitalism is evil, is white supremacy, because now where are our Black people going to go to a pharmacy? We've lost our pharmacy. We've lost our, a local store here, like a Walgreens or a Target or a CVS. And so when she says Black people are not being represented, we're suffering, they create their own suffering. And then they turn to you and try to leverage your white guilt and say, poor us. In California, this is what's happened to almost every city, almost every town. Things are locked up behind plexiglass. Like when I moved to Indiana from California, there's nothing behind any glass. Nothing. Doesn't matter what it is. There's nothing behind. You go to California, you got like razor blades and women's shaving cream and basic stuff like that, makeup that are behind glass. So you have to ask someone to open it. That wasn't always the case. That was because of this black people, woe is me attitude, and then they kept going at it, and then people, not understanding that was their goal. So when these Black activists start whining and complaining about how Black people are suffering, the suffering for Black people and Black communities created 100% on their own. It is 100% created by their own community, by their own culture, by their own families, and by their own politicians. Because what they're doing is that they're destroying the Black communities, Black cities. Even the most, there no such thing as a company that's woke. Okay, it's just all about where they go with the win. But so, for example, Walgreens might be like Black Lives Matter, but when you rob them blind, the corporate headquarters is going to go, we're closing shop. We're not going to bleed money. And so when that happens, because they create the laws that make that happen, then capitalism sucks and it's white supremacy. So understand that anytime you hear that, that's the background. And I've seen it happen in California City since I was young. And of course, California is a leader in that kind of stuff. If you go to Illinois, Detroit, but every state has it. Every state eventually falls down this crack. So you have to be able to reject their emotional blackmail. All right, here's that question. I think someone's asking Miss Critical Race Theory here. I think this is it.
Thank you. I now recognize myself. Ms. Wiley, would you agree with the statement that Charlie Kirk was a dangerous extremist?
I can't answer the question that way. I can certainly say that
No.
statements that I am aware of that Mr. Kirk made were ones that I would consider to be dangerous.
And would those be the ones that he took directly from the Bible repeatedly?
I'm referring to the ones that he made about Black women and Black communities, the stereotyping that stereotyped whole group of people.
So you would put him on a list of dangerous people that should, as the Southern Poverty Center
I don't designate groups. I'm just.
Well, you've had
answering your
opinions on
question.
everything the Democrats asked for. I just thought you might have an opinion on that.
I shared my opinion about some of the things I heard he said, yes.
Okay. Would you agree that a group could be good, have a great mission, do a lot of good things, but also commit crimes?
Well, I mean, anything is possible. I think what
Well,
we're
no,
talking about today is a
that was kind of a yes or no, but
it's a specific organization we're talking about, though, which is Southern Poverty Law Center. And I
so
think the point is,
your opinion is they can't commit crimes because they do good?
my opinion is that we see a prosecution where we know that the Southern Poverty Law Center offered evidence and is asking for accountability about whether that exculpatory evidence was shown to a grand jury. That should concern all Americans.
Okay, Mr.
So when she talks about Charlie Kirk's statements, here's the funny thing. There is not a single person that exists in America that's been able to pull anything that Charlie Kirk has said and said, see, look, he's racist against Black people. Because when you play any of his stuff, not even in entirety, I'm not saying you have to go listen to, like, if he debates somebody for 2 hours, you have to listen to all 2 hours. Just listen to that particular question and answer session. So if you listen to that in good faith, like somebody walked up to him in a college campus or like if he's sitting on a stage and someone asked him a question, if you played it from the time the person asked the question, from the time he answered it, and then back to the person maybe refuting him, because Charlie always allowed that and encouraged it. Not a single person has ever been able to pull anything that he said that was like, there he is, he's racist against Black people. Because remember, when she says he's disparaging Black people, it means he's telling the truth. So, for example, 13% of the population in America are Blacks. About 7% are males. Out of those, probably 5% or 4% out of the 7% males is responsible for over 50% of the crime in this country. If she heard me say that, she from the Southern Poverty Law Center would say Alvin Louis is racist against black people. He's racist because he said disparaging things about black people. I did nothing disparaging. All I literally said was stone cold hard facts. Black people make 13% of America. 7% are black men. About 4 or 5% of those black men commits over 50% of the crime. And the reason why they continue to do that is because these very liberal judges continue to let them out. It would be one thing if these black criminals commit these crimes and they're in jail forever. Like if they hurt somebody, they just never out. That's okay. The reason why this same 4 or 5% of black males continue to commit over 50% of America's crimes, because it's the same people, because it's a revolving door. So that to her would be disparaging black people. And because so many good-hearted Americans, especially white Americans, would never dare say what I just said or post what I just said, write it out in a Facebook post, say that in front of family and friends, because so many white people were beaten and made fear a habit instead of a courage a habit. They made fear a habit. They would not say that. The Southern Poverty Law Center and all these dumb shit black activists like her continue to erode your life away, beating you over the head with fake white supremacy, leveraging your white guilt and your white shame. Simple as that, folks. A lot of our problems is because we are afraid of being called racist, bigot, transphobe, whatever. If you're not afraid of that, a lot of this stuff would not have gotten started. A lot of these laws, a lot of these organizations would have died a long time ago if that didn't exist. You know. Let's see. All right. Let's see. What else do we want to oh, here's one of these like really cowards. Hey, look, if you like, I can send you a link right now and you can come on and you can say that to me and then we can go through what I just said and we'll see what happens to you. Let's talk about it. Come on. I'll give you a link. You can turn on your camera, turn on your audio, and we'll do this face to face. You want to do the link? Here's the link for you. There you go. There's the link. We can even put it on the we'll put it on the X where we're streaming here. Click on the link, turn on your camera, and come and see and tell me what it is that I've said that was incorrect. What did I say that was a lie? You're not a pussy, are you? Because you can't not show up, not after you just said that, right? That would be embarrassing. No? See, that's the problem with these guys, right? They're always talking shit, but they never show up. So you got the link. I gave you the link. It's on our X under our X page. So there you go. There's the link. Come on and tell me what Poly Market Arts cars. Yeah. Hey, look, all you gotta do is show and say, listen, Alvin, you said this, and here's why you're wrong. Come on up, one-on-one, face-to-face. I can do it live. I can do it anywhere. And that's the problem. You guys can't. This is why you guys will never be able to stop us. You will not be able to stop me because I can do it live and you can't. And none of you pussies ever can. And that's the problem. So you will continue to cry and hide behind an anonymous profile because it's all you can do. Because if you actually saw me in real life and I said, hey, let's have this debate in real life, you would piss your pants and run away. Because the problem is, once we get down to a live debate, nothing that you have can ever refute anything that I said. Like I said about the, 13% and the, 5% of black males. That's what it is. But by the way, since you're here, stick around, and we'll show you in terms of, here, I got this for you. Here's something that just happened, 3 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. This is, here, you'll enjoy this. Speaking of stereotype, you'll enjoy this. Let's check this out. This is for you. This is when people talk about black communities destroying each other. This is in a Chipotle, I think. This is in a Chipotle. You want to come on and talk about this? Is that the white supremacy that you want to talk about? Crazy, right? This is why he won't show up. You see what I'm saying, folks? These guys just talk, right? These guys just talk, that's all they can't do anything, right? That's why they can't stop us. That's why they can't stop us. This is why we're efficient, because, they can't get on and explain that kind of white supremacy, Oh, here's a good one for you. Here, we'll do one more. We'll get back to the hearing here. Here's a good one. I think this guy did a good job with this here too. Here, let's check this out. Come on. You want to get on and talk about this? We can talk about this too. If you want to get on, talk about this. You're not a pussy, are you? You're not a pussy, are you? You want to come on and talk about this? Let's talk about this white supremacy right here.
There needs to be more and more Black Americans who come out and speak out against this. We need to work to change this culture. It's an absolute problem. These children have no respect for other people's property. Think about that. They're on top of people's cars. They're literally just out there being a nuisance to society, and they think it's cool. But again, what gets me about this as well, there will be Black people who will say nothing about this. But the moment that someone has a certain opinion or believes a certain stereotype about Black people, then they want to get mad. They don't want to fight and work to fight the reasons that people have stereotypes against Black people. They just want to get mad at people for having those stereotypes.
That's you.
Again, when you look at this is...
That's you. That's the coward. He literally is describing you. You don't say anything about it, but as soon as someone like me points it out, you're like, oh, you're a pussy. You can't debate. All right, come debate. No, I don't want to debate. He literally is just talking about you.
Black people. This isn't a group of Asian kids. This isn't a group of white kids. These are Black children. That is Black people's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not the white man's fault. It is Black people's fault. There are not enough Black Americans who are being active, good parents. And we're seeing the result of it. Again, there's always inevitably someone that comes in my comment section that's Black pointing their finger. Well, look at what white people do, and look at this, and look at that. We're talking about us. We're not talking about them. And for those of you who want to come in and say it, go find a video, not an AI created video. Go find a video of a group of white kids like this, stepping all over people's cars in public, or a group of Asian kids congregated like this, wreaking havoc and literally being a menace to society. Go find the videos and post them. But don't come talking to me about, well, look at what white people do in bar fights or something like that. Go find an equivalent. Don't move the goalpost. The reality is nothing about what these kids are doing is okay. And if we accept the bare minimum, because this is something I've said before, you're not going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Black American standards as a whole are at the bottom of the barrel. Our standards are far too low, and we just casually accept those low standards. We need to raise our standards significantly. Again, we need to be better. We need to consistently make better decisions. Again, because this starts with the parents. The parents likely didn't make good decisions when having a lot of these children. Then they didn't make good decisions when raising these children. Now, these children are going out in public and not making good decisions and being a menace to society. And they think it's cute and fun and cool to disrespect and destroy other people's property. That's exactly how you get no opportunity for Black Americans, because people don't want to put their hard-earned resources in areas where other people will not respect them. We need to be better. It's that simple. Don't forget, guys, I have an email newsletter where I cover these topics in more detail. The link is in my profile.
So you know what, Mr. Pussy over there that can't show up after talking shit. Very embarrassing. Why do you talk shit if you can't show up? But you know what though, Mr. Pussy and you can't debate. I actually think you should get on and we'll do a 1-for-1 because I will take his challenge. I'll pull up for every video I pull up of Black Americans, especially young Black Americans doing what we just saw. Then you pull one up of white people or of Asian people or of Japanese people or Koreans. Okay. And then for every one you find, you know what? I'll tell you what, Mr. Pussy, Mr. I can't debate, Mr. I gotta hide. I will give you a 2-for-1. For every 2 I pull up, you just have to pull 1. You want to do that? You want to do that? I mean, you know, if white supremacy is such a big problem, it should be no problem for you, right? We'll just take his challenge. Every time I pull up, not an AI video, an actual real video, right? Real video. For every 2 I pull up, you just pull up 1. Pull up 1 of white people doing the stuff that Black people doing, you know, fighting and doing all this stuff and climbing on cars, twerking on lampposts and shit like that. We can do that. You want to do that? Think about it. Think about it. It's 2-for-1. Should be easy. Huh? See, this is why we just continue to do whatever we want. These people are weak as hell. Weak as hell. All you have to do is stream World Star Hip Hop. Yeah, right. You're really right. I could, yeah, if I, you know what? That's not even fair. If I do that, I could do 5-to-1. You know, that's look at this. See, this is why these people can't stop us, because they can't do anything. They can't show up live, right? They just got to hide. This is why we mock them, make fun of them. It's so easy, right? It's embarrassing, man. You talk shit like that and then you can't show up live. All right, let's do one more from the hearing, and then I'll share up a tool that we just released, the case study we did here in Indiana about woke white women pushing the trans stuff. All right, let's hit this here. All right, let's listen to this from the committee here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The talking point for the Democrat high brain today is that Jim Crow is alive and well in America, and I am sure that some of the SPLC's actions have helped them make this argument. My first question is for you, Ms. Swain. In the 2024 presidential election, were you required to pay a poll tax before you voted?
No.
I have another question for you. When you went to vote at the voting locations, were you intimidated in any way with baseball bats, fire hoses, or dogs?
The only thing that intimidated me is that in my state that you go into, if you have to ask for a Republican ballot or a Democrat ballot, and if you are in a precinct that's predominantly Democrat, I think you would have a lot of fear.
Thank you for answering that question, ma'am. For my Democrat colleagues and everyone on the left screaming Jim Crow 2.0, like I hear ad infinitum, let's take a moment to revisit what actual Jim Crow was. Jim Crow was a time when Black Americans could not sit in classrooms with white Americans. It was colored-only water fountains. It was beatings in the streets. It was lynchings. It was fear. It was public humiliation. My own father, who grew up in a segregated South in New Orleans, had to walk around to the back of a restaurant just to order a sandwich in the French quarters of New Orleans because of the color of his skin. That was Jim Crow. And that is precisely why it is so offensive to compare that era of legalized discrimination and racial terror to showing a photo ID in a voting booth. And it's just as offensive when groups and organizations like these manufacture faux hate and racial tension.
Faux hate.
Requiring identification to vote. It's not oppression. It is not segregation. It is not racism. It is a basic standard that applies equally to every single American citizen, regardless of what you look like. You need an ID to board a plane. You need an ID to cash a check. You need an ID to buy alcohol. You need an ID to enter these very federal buildings. And by the way, attaining an ID in this country is an extremely low bar. But somehow showing an ID to vote in America is now considered to be Jim Crow 2.0. This is not about civil rights. This is about political theater. And the Democrat Party survives on manufacturing grievance. Democrats invoke the pain of the past because they have nothing to offer for the present. They don't want an honest debate. They want emotional manipulation. They want outrage. They want division, as evidenced by our discussion in this very hearing today. They want Americans to fight each other because chaos is politically useful to them. Words like racism and white supremacy and Jim Crow 2.0. For the purposes of elucidating my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, let's take a hard look at what real Jim Crow was. Check out this one behind me. You see, this is Jim Crow. This is what Democrats call Jim Crow. Next slide, please. See, that's Jim Crow. For whatever reason, this is what Democrats call Jim Crow. Slide, please. That is Jim Crow. This is what Democrats call Jim Crow. I know that some of these images can seem to be very jarring to many of us that haven't experienced that over the course of the past 40 years of my lifetime. I never saw these things. I never experienced them personally, but I have family members who have and who did. And that's why it is extraordinarily important for us to be very, very careful with what we compare to Jim Crow, because this country has come a very, very long way. I keep saying this over and over and over and over again till I am blue in the face. I represent a white majority district along with 3 of my other Black colleagues here in Congress. And you know what? Nobody cares about what we look like. We are being judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character, because we've come a long way from this. I don't want to go back to that. In fact, I want to continue on the path that America has set forward in the name of Jesus Christ. And I want to let people know that we don't need to be angry. We don't need to be divided. We want equality for everyone. Let me be crystal clear. This is not 1960 anymore. It's 2026. And the fact that groups like these are willing to stroke the flames of hate by funding the KKK is absurd. With that, I yield back to the remainder of
It is absurd. It's actually kind of funny. I mean, in a perverse way. All right. So that's, so that was pretty much, you got the gist of the entire committee. I think it went on for like 5 hours. But you can see the dishonesty and all those different things. So I just wanted to share that with you because I think it's important that you see that, and you're going to hear a lot about it. But I wanted to give you some the way they use the language and how they use emotional blackmail and everything. So, all right, I wanted to share with you something that we've never done before. And this is something we released on Tuesday. We're very proud of it, and I want to give this to everybody. Because I think that this is a blueprint. This is like a playbook that you can see, that you can use, and that you can match it to no matter where you are, whether you're in a blue state, whether you're in a red state, whether you're in a town, a suburb, you can actually use this. So let me just share this, introduce this tool to you guys here. We call it the erasure of women. And so let me explain what we did. Okay, let me explain what we did. There was in Indiana here, there is this cuck white guy running for a candidate. He's a candidate. Okay, he's running for district, I think 41. And he wrote this. Can I blow this? You know what? Let me change. Let me put up the original PDF so I think you guys can see it a little bit better. But it's on our website right now. It's on our website right now. And it's called, you can hit tool of the week, depending on if you're watching, depending on when you're watching this. Let me pull this up here. There we go. So if you go to courageisahabit.org right now, you can pick it up on tool of the week. But for our purposes, I'm going to share the PDF so that you guys can follow along. Okay, here's the case study. So what we did was, when this guy, he wrote this long rambling word salad. Okay, I'm not even going to bother reading it to you because it's just, it's just a big word salad. And he threw everything that you can think of. Okay, everything that you can think of. Discussing about having men in women's sports, locker rooms, spas, that kind of thing. And every lie, every bad faith argument, he just threw it in this word salad. It's a nonsensical word salad. And when I saw this, I read the Facebook comments, and I noticed that the majority of people supporting him are these suburban white women. Not black women, not an Asian woman, not a Filipino woman, nothing like that. So anyway, we basically decided to do this case study and crunch the numbers for you. And we analyzed 176 comments, which equal to 111 unique posters. 92% of these woke white women supported this cuck and the transgender cult. So let me be clear. Women are supporting the erasure of women. Okay. The women are supporting the erasure of women. And 90, so then you had like support, and then you had some pushback. 99% of the initial pushback were from men. And so we had closed this case study on April 20th. And then, certainly people commented after that as well. So we locked this, we finished we collected all the comments as of April 20th, like at night, at the evening of April 20th. And so 99% of initial posters were men that pushed back. 92% of all females supported him. At the end, we found 45% of men in total also supported him, which is pathetic, right? You've got these weak white cucks supporting mentally ill men in women's sports, locker rooms, spas, things like that. And so we crunched it for you. And here it is. Here's the numbers. This is just raw. Most of the men that supported looked like the pussy that was talking shit here that tucked his tampon between his legs. It's probably a trans lunatic. A lot of the men who supported, the 45% of men, either had like an anonymous profile or looked like this freak, which is just a man pretending to be a woman. So we wanted to crunch the numbers for you. Then we also wanted to show what was the strategy for most of the people supporting. What was the strategy? And so for the females, most of them basically hid behind experts. They defer to experts, said, oh, this organization says it's okay to mutilate kids and that a man can get pregnant, so that must be true. That's what they're always deferring to experts. This is why, it's okay to have a man beat the living shit out of a girl in sports. Then also governing bodies. Well, this governing body said is okay. And of course, emotional blackmail. That was that was the three things that the women really leaned on. And then we had cucks like this guy named Mike Catt from Indiana. And this is what he had to say. Your kid isn't going pro anyway, so sit down, shut up, and be happy that they're having fun with their team. This is what he had to say to girls and to parents who do not want mentally ill men in their daughter's sports. Okay. So that was what we did. Then there's a final takeaway. You can read that. This is our takeaway about how it's in your community. And again, while this is done in Indiana, in the suburbs of Indiana, we believe that you can take this playbook and you will find what we found, the percentage, the balance of women and men. And, we believe that you're going to be within anywhere between 2 to 5% of what we found anywhere you go. But anyway, so what we also wanted to do is we also wanted to get everybody that commented on the list. So, that these are real people. And we told you if they were males or females and if they oppose and support, how many times they commented, and then what their key strategy was when they did comment. Because again, we believe our hypothesis is that if you take this playbook, no matter where you go, because we deal with parents across the country, we go to boot camps and we do conventions and conferences and things. And so because we see this at a very local level, because we deal in schools, because Courage is a Habit deals in schools, because we deal with parents at the most basic level, which is K through 12, we have seen this play out forever, ever since we started doing it. But we've never really put it in a case study where we can just break it down into plain math. And so we hope that this helps everybody to be able to battle the transgender cult. So again, right now is up at courageisahabit.org. You can click on Tool of the Week and download that and use it. Because this is something that we want you to stay on offense, right? We want you to be able to be aggressive in your offense against a transgender cult, because you cannot reason with them. Now, by the way, let me just say this. This case study is not to be, we're not giving it to you so that you can show this or use it against a transgender child mutilation advocate. They don't care. You can't, it doesn't matter. They don't show them facts or logic or anything. They don't care because they want to mutilate your children. They want to take your children away from you. They want to trans your children. So facts and logic doesn't matter. What you have to do is you have to embarrass them. You have to humiliate them. You have to bully them out of your community. We give you this case study is for you, the good parents, so that you don't get sucked into these arguments, deferring to experts and emotional blackmail and all those different things. And also you have to kind of understand the kind of group that you're going to be dealing with, which is mostly the suburban white women, which is also why we have a shirt on our store called Deport Woke White Women as well, which is, if you want to check that out, that's also one of my favorite shirt is the Deport Woke White Women t-shirt. Very comfortable. So anyway, I hope you guys you're going to get a lot out of this case study. And again, if you want to watch, it's right now, it's up on YouTube. If you want to watch the entire, I don't know why you would, the hearing, the SPLC hearing. And congratulations to my friend Tyler, who did such a fantastic job. He wrote that book, so long ago. And finally, people are starting to understand how corrupt the Southern Poverty Law Center is. We just released our own study in October about the American School Counselor Association and how the counselors are just the foot soldiers of this. So I couldn't be any happier to see the DOJ open up the case against them. I hope they go bankrupt. I hope they spend time in prison because they certainly are a lot of fraud. So, all right, everybody. I hope you're having a great evening. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Alvin Louie from Courage is a Habit. And as I always say, if you don't stand up for your children today, they will live on their knees tomorrow. Catch you next time.